I'm old enough to remember another Harlem. Before the heroin game overtook the numbers game, before crack overtook heroin, before a U.S. president moved his offices uptown, and before white people started pushing strollers across 110th Street, I knew a Harlem where you didn't have to lock your front door. I'm talking about a Harlem that was still in the midst of its renaissance. A Harlem swinging to jazz and bebop, a Harlem beating with the warmth and life of gospel music by day and teeming with people in excitement and glamour by night. I'm talking about a Harlem where older women from the South with uncanny multitasking abilities sat outside on stoops or in windows high above the street, sewing clothes, peeling vegetables, and spreading gossip, all while keeping watch over the neighborhood children, missing nothing. "Danny, go get your sister Dolores out of that street," Miss Margarita, a neighborhood woman who knew us all by name, would snap from her window lookout. A Harlem crowded with lounges, restaurants, music venues, ballrooms, and movie theaters. A Harlem where my friends and I would hold taxi doors for women in mink stoles and crouch at the feet of men in suits and bowlers, shining their patent leather shoes to a sparkle. Lexington Avenue had cobblestones, and every now and then you'd see a horse and wagon clopping up the street, a Harlem of life, lights, and all kinds of humanity. Black restaurants, Irish bars, Italian social clubs, Latin dance halls. That Harlem, the Harlem of the 1950s, was the first Harlem I knew. The Harlem I inherited, the Harlem I was born into. My mother, Lily Mae Day, didn't trust doctors or hospitals, so she gave birth to me at home with my grandmother, Ella, getting off her sickbed to play midwife. I never met Grandma Ella, 'cause she died only 2 days after I was born. So all I can do is imagine her holding me and wrapping me in a blanket. "It's a boy, Lily Mae." "Another one?" I can hear my mother's exhausted reply, "Lord." It was the summer of 1944, and I was my mother's 4th boy in a row. It couldn't have been easy. When I came out of the womb, everyone marveled at the size of my head. "Wow, his head big as Moon." Moon was my older brother James, 2 years old at the time, nicknamed on account of the planetary size of his head. Mine was just as big, so they nicknamed me Lil Moon and started calling James Big Moon. The official name they gave me was Daniel, but when my parents went downtown to file my birth certificate, some clerk screwed it up and put me down as Daniel. It wasn't just me either. My mother gave birth to 3 more children, all girls, and we each had inaccurate information on our birth certificates. Wrong gender, wrong surname, misspelled mother's maiden name. They were minor human errors in the grand scheme, but they symbolized a larger feeling of neglect. It was understood, literally from birth, that the system didn't really care about keeping our information correctly, that it didn't really care about us. 'Cause we were poor as hell. Poorest of Harlem's poor, dirt poor. We lived in East Harlem, in a 5-story tenement building on Lexington Avenue and 129th Street. My parents had come to the city as part of the Great Migration, and they struggled and fought to survive in an overwhelming new urban reality. My father, Robert Day, worked 3 jobs, while my mother managed us 7 kids, a thankless full-time job. My parents and their generation were new to city life. They had come from tight-knit rural communities in the South where everyone knew each other, and in the early days of Black Harlem, they did their best to recreate those communities. All the doors to the apartments in our building stayed open all day long. Aunt Mary, my mother's first cousin, lived above us and could holler out her apartment to ask my mother to borrow sugar, and my mother could holler back a reply. And we never needed house keys. The front door of our building was always kept propped open by a heavy rock, and our mutt and 2 cats just came and went as they pleased, in and out, just like us. Each block was its own microcosm of small-town Southern life. Each neighborhood was associated with a particular region, so that you had the people who came from South Carolina living in one area, the ones from Virginia in another. I didn't meet a black person whose family was from North Carolina until I visited Brooklyn, where a lot of them had settled. That's how specific these neighborhoods were.